Check 1 2 1 2.
Tuesday, January 30th, 2024, of the Lake Worth Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Roll call, please.
Ms. Leah Birch.
Here.
Ms. Ann Fairclough.
Here.
Ms. Carla Blackson.
Here.
Ms. Donna Gunner.
Here.
Mr. Drew Bartlett.
Here.
Mr. Daniel Morgan.
Here.
Ms. Caroline Shaw.
Here.
Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions, deletions, or reordering of our agenda?
I have a deletion, Madam Chair. The presentation by Ned Murray has to be postponed. He actually just came back with the flu.
Looking forward to that.
And you might want to reorder because Brendan Lynch is not here and he's up first.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe we move Brendan Lynch to D.
Yes. Okay, anyone else have any comments or requests? Okay, we can begin with our public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment? Please approach the mic if you'd like to speak.
Peggy Fisher. Is it on?
No, you're on.
Just tilt it down. There you go.
Peggy Fisher, North A Street. I just want to make a comment about something that I witnessed at a neighborhood association meeting where another entity in our city, Prosper Lake Worth Beach, which is an organization of individuals who are supporting moving the city forward, was making a presentation at this neighborhood association's meeting. And a member of the board, this board, was at that meeting. It wasn't, I don't know, it may be his neighborhood, it may not be. But he raised a question to the member of Prosper Lake Worth Beach who was making the presentation about how much money did the CRA give to the Gulf Stream, and kept pushing the issue in not a positive way. And it was very concerning to me, one, that someone would ask that question who was a member of this board, which you would know being a member of this board or being associated with this board, and you would be, in my opinion, I would think you would be supportive of the efforts of the board on which you sit. So I was concerned by that action, and quite frankly, I was a little embarrassed because I was just a visitor there, and the people in that community were all hearing this, and they don't necessarily go to commission meetings or know what's going on. But I just thought, if you want to be on this board, you should be supportive of the actions of the CRA. You have an opportunity in these meetings to voice your feelings and your desires, but I think you should be supportive of the actions and of things that are decisions made by your board and passed by your board. Thank you.
Do we have any additional public comment? Thank you. Let's move on to presentations.
Our first presentation is by Rhonda Geiger, and she is from Palm Beach County Commission on Ethics.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Rhonda Geiger, Palm Beach County Commission on Ethics. This is less of a presentation than it is just me saying hello and reminding everybody that we're here. to answer any questions you might have. Remind you all, as I say always, we would so much rather be a proactive than a reactive agency. We field so many questions, and I think these public outreaches are helping. We're getting more and more questions as opposed to seeing things on the other end, and that's really how we want it. So just remember, ask first, ask later. Anybody in the office is there to help you. I've put my business card in the things that I handed out, even the notebooks. I taped it to the back of a notebook, but I'll leave a few up here if you need them. But please remember that this open system is what keeps government functioning, and integrity in our systems is really what we want. So just, we're not here as a gotcha. We're definitely here to be the agency that helps everybody out. Any questions? Anyone? Yes.
I have a question. I have a couple of questions. I know we have to fill out these forms. Do we have to fill them out every year? Is that something that gets sent to us by you guys, or do we have to be proactive to fill out the
city is the
disclosure
one
forms?
The city is the one that sets the schedule with respect to how often the ethics training has to be taken. And I want to clarify that that's just the local code, not the state code. The state ethics requirement is completely separate from ours.
Okay.
So,
And I'll touch on the financial disclosure requirements.
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry, was that a fine? Oh yeah, that's not us. That's the
That's
state.
not
The
you.
state's the
Okay,
financial
good.
disclosure. Yeah, that's all state. So there is a state ethics code as well. So they're going to commingle. But anything that is just under the Palm Beach County Code, then that's going to come specifically and strictly to us.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jonathan Brown from the Housing and Economic Development Department at Palm Beach County, and he's gonna give us an update on the Housing for All plan, the Palm Beach County Housing Equity Study that was in your packet as well, and Jonathan is here to talk a little bit about the funding opportunities that are now available because of the housing bond. Thank you, Jonathan.
Hey, thank you, Joan. Good evening, everyone. So thank you again for allowing me to come to share a little bit about the housing bond. So there's a lot of different things that's going on. There is the Housing Plan for All, which was authored by the Housing Leadership Council. While the county had some input in that plan, it's not a county plan, but it is a plan that the county supports and endorses. Within that plan, they talk about different funding sources that will help generate new workforce and affordable housing, of which the housing bond is one of them. And so I want to talk a little bit about the housing bond that the voters approved and answer any questions that you may have. I've been making my rounds with most cities, CRAs, CLT, housing authorities, any and everyone who wants information on the housing bond. So let's start. So it's been in works for a while. June of 2022, the BCC, Board of County Commissioners, approved the referendum for the $200 million housing bond. November, you'll see that the 55% of the voters in the county said yes on the bond, and so that led us to where we are today. After the voters said yes, the courts validated the bond, and then on October 3rd of last year, we took criteria to the Board of County Commissioners. Now, as we were developing the criteria for the use of the housing bond, we had input from affordable housing advocates, nonprofit agencies, for-profit agencies, developers, municipalities, any and everyone that wanted to be a part of the development of the criteria had an opportunity to weigh in. And this month, we began issuing RFPs on the housing bond, and I'll talk a little bit more about that momentarily. And so what is this housing bond? As we put together the criteria, and on the document that you have, the first 3 pages, the first 2 pages are the Exhibit A from the referendum that the voters actually approved. And so as we put together criteria, there were some things within there that the Board of County Commissioners acknowledged that we're not going to change because that's what we sold to the voters. And then there are some things that the board has provided some direction on. And so Workforce and affordable housing. That's what this bond is about. It's about the creation of new workforce and affordable housing units. It's not about rehabbing existing units. It's not about buying existing units. It is gap funding for developers who want to build new workforce and affordable units. Workforce housing within the document you have, we define as those that are 60 to 140% of the area median income. And affordable housing we defined as those that are at 80% of the area median income and below. And I'll share with you why there's such a distinction as we move forward. So the housing bond can be used to acquire, and when we say acquisition, I'll talk a little bit about how that's going to work, because we're not acquiring existing housing, but you can acquire a commercial site. You can acquire an existing commercial site and do some sort of mixed use project, and we'll talk about it. So what can we help with? We can help with condos, multifamily rental, single-family homes, townhomes, and projects can be mixed income and mixed use. We recognize that there are some commercial areas that are not as highly used for commercial activity, and there may be an opportunity to do some sort of mixed use project there. Project financing. Projects can be financed combining public and private dollars. I mentioned earlier that the bond dollars are gap financing. As you can imagine, $200 million, if we were just to use that, would not be enough to solve the issue. What we're trying to do is leverage our dollars with other private dollars, other public dollars to help these dollars stretch. The other thing I like about the housing bond program is that it's a revolving loan program. And so these are loans. I've been asked the question, so the grant, no, it's a loan. So as an individual buyer, can I get it? No, it's a loan to developers. We need the developers to actually use these dollars to build. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So again, it's a $200 million housing bond. Bonds, that bullet, bonds can be issued all at once or in tranches. So I had a question from one developer, or a request from one developer, and he said, well, why don't you get the board just to issue $200 million in bonds? Well, because we don't know if there are $200 million in ready projects yet. And so we've started the RFP process, but what we did that's unique about this RFP process is that when we issued the RFPs, we did not have amounts in the RFPs. And I'll tell you why. So we've issued 3 RFPs to date. We've issued a workforce rental, we've issued an affordable rental, and we've issued a for sale RFP. Our plan is, and those RFPs are due sometime in March, each of them are staggered. Our plan is to get in the applications, see what the demand is, see what what developers are ready to move forward on projects that are shovel ready to go forward. And then as we receive those RFP responses and proposals in, what we're going to do is evaluate them for responsiveness. As we evaluate them for responsiveness, and then we'll have a number. We can say of the RFP proposals we receive, we have 50 million in projects that are ready to go. And from there, we would ask the Board of County Commissioners to issue bonds in those amounts. That way, our taxpayers aren't paying taxes on dollars we don't need yet. One developer said, but yeah, with the interest rates as high it is, you can put it in a bank account and generate interest income. Well, that's not what we're trying to do. That's not what this is about. We want to make sure that we recommend to the county commission to issue bonds in the amount that's actually necessary right now. And each year, we'll be doing the same thing. Now, the term of the loans that we're going to issue on the bonds will be 20 years to match the bond issuance term. Again, it's going to be loans for developers, a competitive process. Again, if you're multifamily rental development, we'll provide dollars not only for construction, but we'll allow you to use that as permanent financing. And then home ownership units, we're looking just for construction to assist with construction. There is a possibility, depending on the cost of those for sale units, that we could finance the entire project because they're short-term loans. But we're looking at providing gap financing in most instances. Now, what we're sharing with the developers is that we want projects that are shovel ready. So the fact that you own a property is great, but if your property isn't zoned to do what you want to do, then we don't want to request bond dollars right now for your project, because I don't know how long it's going to take for you to rezone your project and get the necessary approvals that you need. And so if you're a developer and your project isn't ready, then come back to us when your project is ready, so that way we can make sure that when we provide dollars, you're ready to go. And why is that important? Because once the Board of County Commissioners gives the final approval, developer has 1 year to put a shovel in ground, or those dollars can be reclaimed by the county. So we want to make sure that we're providing dollars to projects that are shovel ready at this time. And some of that. So what's shovel ready? You either own the property or you have a contract to purchase the property. And then we're looking to make sure the property is zoned for what you're looking to do. I'm working with a developer now, and by right, I think they can get somewhere around 10 units to the acre, but they want to get 30 units to the acre. I said, okay, so you're not shovel ready. You need to make sure you work through to get that, so that way when it comes to us for review, we're ready to go with that project. As part of the process, we're going to provide compliance and monitoring. One of the things that is always of a concern when you're using public dollars is making sure that those who are using the dollars are using the dollars correctly, and that we are actually monitoring and following up. And so all of the developers understand that we're going to be looking for financial reports that are CPA prepared. They understand that we're going to be deed restricting units to make sure that the units that are being assisted are going toward those that are eligible. The IG will be able to look at them. The internal auditor will be able to look at documentation again as they review. And then again, as we do all the other compliance reviews, whether it's from the planning, zoning, building departments or from my department, we'll be doing those things as well. So now we get into the criteria that the Board of County Commissioners actually has flexibility to change. What we're going to talk about now wasn't part of the ballot language or the backup, but it's part of what we believe is necessary in administering a program. So you'll see here, and this is one place where I missed it, it's no longer draft, because on October 3rd, the board actually approved the criteria. What's important about this particular project requirements is that we're looking for municipalities to be part of the project. And so what we're asking municipalities to do, and it doesn't show here, but it shows in your document, is we need you to at least, as a municipality, the cities, provide expedited permitting. That's the only incentive that we're asking for. You can provide cash, you can donate land, you can provide any other fee waivers, but we're asking for municipal help, and that, at least an expedited permitting for the affordable workforce housing units. Now, what we share with developers is that if you are seeking expedited permitting from a municipality, your project has to meet their expedited permitting requirements. And if it does not, then you have to, as a developer, make sure your project does, or you need to seek a different incentive from the city or the town or the village in that process. Now, as we look at projects that are going to come through, it's important for us that we take a look at the municipal development order. Because if a project is coming through a municipality and that municipality is mandating the creation of workforce housing units, then by state statute, by law, the city, the town, has to offset the cost of those workforce housing units. And so, in essence, the city would have already incentivized those units. So we don't want to incentivize workforce housing units that are already incentivized by a city or the county. From the county's perspective, we typically incentivize by giving additional density. They're able to build more market rate units, and as a result, we're going to get the additional workforce housing units that we need. Each city may do it differently in terms of how they incentivize, but if through development order, that municipality says 10% of these units have to be set aside as workforce housing, then bond funds will not be used for those workforce housing units because technically they've already been incentivized. If the development order from the city does not mandate a certain percentage be set aside as workforce or affordable, then we're asking at least 10 units, the greater of 10 units or 10% of the project be set aside as workforce or affordable, and those units would be eligible for bond funds because it wasn't mandated through development order. Now, the one thing that I'm pushing for and I'm gonna get some clarity on is if a municipality is, through development order, is mandating the creation of affordable housing units. What I've asked is that we assist those units because, again, when you talk about those that at 80% or below AMI, knowing that the bond dollars are a loan, we want to help them. And so we're seeking guidance on that. Right now, the criteria only puts that restriction on workforce units, but we want to make sure that that restriction isn't implied for the affordable housing units. We're going to do something a little different. Typically with us, the county, everything is always cost reimbursement. But with the bond program, the board has given us the okay to do a construction draw process, which the developers are going to love because now they don't need to get a bridge loan to try to pay or wait for the county to reimburse. So that's going to be something new for us. But either way, whether it's cost reimbursement or construction draw, we're going to be looking for a payment and performance bond or a letter of credit, so we can make sure that the funds, public funds, are protected. So now, why would a developer want to use these bond dollars? Well, if you're a for-profit workforce housing developer, you're going to have a term up to 20 years, but you're going to get an interest rate between 1% and 3%. If you're a for-profit developer and you're going to the banks today, you're probably looking at 5.5 or higher in interest rates. And so we're going to give you between 1% and 3%. How do you know which one you're going to get? That's the question I get from developers. And so what we said is that we're going to look at your debt service coverage. And if your project can support a 2% rate or a 3% rate, then that's what we're going to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners. But if your project needs 1%, then that's what we're going to recommend. So I've shared with the developers, don't put that fluff in there because we're going to analyze those pro formas in your financials so we can make sure that we're getting it right. If you're a for-profit developer and you're building affordable housing, you're getting a 1% interest rate. And if you're a nonprofit building affordable or workforce rental, you're getting a 0% interest rate. So again, the thought is by not having or by having a lower interest rate, it would hopefully lower the cost of that developer, lower the cost of that project. If we're able to get expedited permitting in place, it'll help move that project along, and we can reduce the cost of the developer for building workforce and affordable housing. For sale units. If you're a developer, a nonprofit developer, and you're building for sale units, you're going to get a rate of 0%. Now, for a for sale developer, 3 years is the max. 3 years or whenever the units are sold, whichever comes first. And if you're a for-profit developer, again, building for sale units, you're at 1%. Again, we're thinking that the interest rates are going to be the key driver here for projects accessing or looking to access the bond dollars for this year. Now, one of the challenges, and I'll be upfront with you all as I've been with everyone, the maximum sales price cannot exceed the county's workforce housing sales price. So, and again, based on category, you have a low income category, a mod 1 and a mod 2. You'll see the incomes that qualify in those ranges, and you'll see the max sales price. One of the issues that we've been having with developers, they've been saying, Jonathan, we cannot build a house for $206, build a house and sell it for $206. It's just not going to work. We can't do it for $265. Some are saying maybe $324. And so I anticipate, or as I've encouraged them, they should continue to seek out the sources of gap financing that they have used in the past for their developer subsidy. From the county's perspective, we'll provide down payment assistance subsidy for the buyers, but the developer is going to be looking for subsidy to get the project done. Some of them are. In some instances, I've spoken with developers, and they already own the land. The loan was donated by the city, donated by a CRA, or it's a housing authority. They already own the land, and that's a big cost to withdraw from the project. But I anticipate that we will see, and you will hear some developers saying for sale isn't going to be practical right now because the cost to construct exceeds what the county is going to allow us to sell them for. But then I've spoken to some developers, and they're like, yeah, no, we have partnerships already in place. We can do it. So we'll see how that one goes. But just want to make sure you know that in case you hear the same things. A deed restriction, if it's a rental project, there will be a minimum of a 30-year deed restriction. And then we're going to look to match the longest deed restriction on that project. So if it's a tax credit project with a 50-year restriction, then our restriction will be 50 years. Maximum rents cannot exceed the rental rates issued by Florida Housing Finance Corporation. I don't know if you all have seen those rates, but those rates are high. And in some instances, not really affordable. So what we've done is, in the scoring part of the RFPs, developers that are able to rent at 90% of this rate or 80% of this rate, they'll get additional points, which will hopefully help them qualify or help them score better in the competitive process. And we'll have units that are more affordable than what Florida Housing Finance Corporation allows. From the county's perspective, we've been pressing this issue on rental rates while still being cognizant that it costs developers a whole lot more to build. It costs them a lot to acquire the properties, the interest rates they're dealing with, the construction. So we recognize that. But we're trying to get those units affordable. It doesn't make sense to have new units that are sitting vacant because no one can afford to rent them. So that's one of the things that we are looking at. We've pressed this issue with Florida Housing Finance Corporation and said, you all need to reduce these rental rates. They're just too high. And basically what they're saying is, we use the model from HUD. If you want us to reduce it, get the federal government to reduce theirs. And so we've now started that conversation with HUD. We'll see how that goes, but as you can imagine, dealing with the federal government could take time. And then if you're doing for sale units, we're doing a 15-year recurring deed restriction for the buyer. So what does that mean? If your home was funded in part by the housing bond program, if you live in the home for 15 years and 1 day, the restriction goes away. If you live in that home for 14 years, not only do you have to sell it to an eligible buyer at the sales price we have set at that time, the 15-year clock starts over. So it's a 15-year recurring, trying to preserve affordability for as long as we can for those who are, at some point you expect people's financials to get better, and then they're going to move on from the house that they're in to a bigger and better house. And so the deed restriction will recur. Just some basic information again. Rental units, we're requiring the developers if they're going to sell their development project, and some of the rental developers, especially the workforce housing ones, there's a great chance that they're going to build and maybe in 5 years, or if it stabilizes in 3, maybe 7 years, they're going to sell the project. If they sell at that time, we want our bond dollars back at that time. And the deed restriction stays on the property. So the deed restriction doesn't go away simply because the money has been paid back. Our goal, as the voters decided, we need to try to create long-term affordability. And then if you're a developer looking to sell your rental, we ask for a 60-day notice so we can begin conversations with the new property manager, the new owner, to make sure they understand the requirements of the program. For sale units, again, we're going to ask for first refusal because we want to purchase those units. If that makes it easier for a buyer, we want an opportunity to purchase those units. The sales prices are already set, so it's not as if they're negotiating a sales price. We established the sales price for those units. And so if there's an opportunity, then we want to purchase it. In either instance, anyone that's going to be approved to purchase a home through bond with, that was funded in part by bond funds has to come through my department for income certification. So we already have a list of people that are actually looking and ready to buy housing. So we think that our process will help those who need to sell easier, sell faster, so they can move forward. And then the same thing with the for sale units. If they sell, we ask for a 60-day notice just in case we need to identify buyers on their behalf. And as we're winding down. So the project selection and the loan award. So when the proposals come in, staff, my team will review them for responsiveness. Then a selection committee will actually review the proposals and make a conditional recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, conditional or conceptual. And then if the Board of County Commissioners accepts those conditional or conceptual recommendations, then it goes to a third-party underwriter. So as we were developing the criteria, the developer said, well, why don't you use third-party underwriters like the Florida Housing Tax Credit Program does? And we said, that's a great idea. And they said, and as developers that apply for the tax credit programs, we pay for the cost, we pay the cost for the underwriting. We said, that's fabulous. So yes, so we've already begun the process of procuring third-party underwriters. The third-party underwriters will come into play after the Board of County Commissioners has actually reviewed and said yes conceptually. Then we'll have a third-party underwriter to dig in on not just the credit, but they're going to look at the credit worthiness of the developer. They're going to right-size it if there are other funds involved, and the overall viability of the project. And if they come back with a favorable recommendation, then we're going to take that to the Board of County Commissioners and say, the third-party underwriters supports your conceptual approval, and we're requesting a final approval. That's important because once final approval is given, that developer has 1 year to get a shovel in the ground in order to move things forward. And then we're going to also ask the developers specifically on the for sale product, we're going to ask the credit underwriters for a cost certification because we want to make sure that the costs we're seeing are legitimate costs. And what I mean by legitimate is that, somehow, project over here costs this amount and then the project across the street costs us twice as much. And so we just want to have that cost certification so we can make sure that we're not over subsidizing or over financing projects. And then these are just some criteria that we're going to look at when we're ranking and scoring for the rental, and criteria that we're going to look at when we're ranking and scoring the for sale. And I can ask any questions you may have, or I can try to answer them.
I have a question. Do you look at, are you looking for large projects, small projects, or do you care?
A great question. So from our perspective, we don't care because we want to make sure that we're creating units. And as a matter of fact, I had a conversation early on with Lake Worth Beach regarding the bond criteria, and they said, listen, our projects may be 10 units or so. It may not be a large-scale project. Are they going to be eligible? Yes, they are.
Okay, great.
Please explain the advantages for the CRA. We would be on equal footing with developers. How would this impact us?
Great question. So we're working with a nonprofit in the city up North County, and the CRA has actually provided the land and provided dollars to the developer that's going to ultimately build the project. So whether you're going to be a builder, you can apply, you're eligible to apply, or if you're going to be working with developers and you have something to bring to the table. So from the CRA's perspective, maybe you're bringing land to the table, or maybe you're bringing cash to the table. If you're doing that, then the city doesn't need to bring anything else to the table if they choose not to.
Thank you.
Jonathan, I believe you mentioned that you've already issued 3 RFPs.
Yes.
Could you say a little bit more about those, and are they countywide, or are they
great
sectors or particular areas of the county that you're looking to target?
Great question. So the bond program is countywide. The first RFP we issued, I want to say it was the first week in January, was for workforce housing rental to kind of engage and let's see. That's for developers who are building units for those whose income is between 60 and 140% AMI. So we have that one out. The second one we issued was affordable rental. That's for developers who want to build housing for those that are at 80% and below AMI. And then a week or two ago, we issued our third and final, which is for developers who want to build for sale housing. And again, great question. It's countywide. The voters of the county are going to be the ones repaying the debt. So it's a countywide program. I've been encouraging all of the municipalities to really, look at this program because, again, if your residents are paying the taxes on them, you should see if you can get a project within your municipality.
Thanks.
Would you please give us the dollar amounts for the 80% and the 60% of the AMI?
Yeah.
I think when we hear that, we always hear what that percentage is, but we have to know what it is in real dollars. So please give us those figures.
And when you say dollars, you mean the income that they earn? Okay.
I think it was on that chart.
So if you're 60% of AMI, then you're at $58,980. If you're at up to $78,640. So this is the AMI chart that we're looking at. Now, I will tell you that these figures change annually. Right now, we're working off the 2023. Typically, Florida Housing will issue the 2024 somewhere around May, and they'll be effective their fiscal year, which is July. I anticipate that we will not have any projects constructed by July of 2024. So by the time the developers are ready to go, the incomes and things would have shifted and changed.
Jonathan, while you're on this, when you presented this slide, the prices, you kept referring to homes. Are condominiums or townhomes or different types of structures eligible here?
Yes, sir. That's a great question. So it can be condos, it can be townhomes or single-family homes. Townhomes have been selling at a better rate. One of the things that we continue to see, and I'm sure you're seeing it too, is the association fees. And so the association fees are a problem for some people. So, as we evaluate those, we take a look at their front end ratio, which is their total housing payment, and we try to give a little latitude because I anticipate that in future years, things like property taxes, homeowners insurance, those things are going to escalate, and you want to make sure that the individual has enough cushion there to absorb those increased costs.
Yep. So you hit my follow-up question, so thank you. You talked about city incentives and kind of not double counting. What about CRA incentives? Are those in the lump of city incentives?
No, if again, from a CRA's perspective, if you're going to provide dollars, land, whatever you're going to contribute to a project, we can assist because we're always talking about how do we leverage these projects. And if you're a multifamily project and your cost is $350,000 or so a unit, it's going to take more than one source to get that down. And so we're fine with that from a municipal standpoint, a CRA standpoint. The one thing that we were trying not to do was projects that are incentivized through development order. And when I say incentivize, at the state level, the municipality has to offset the cost from mandating the creation of workforce or affordable units. It's those units that we're going to try not to double dip on.
And Jonathan, my final question is, from the time that a developer brings you a shovel-ready project, what is the time frame for the approval process? And how long are they going to have to wait, and what hurdles are they going to have to overcome once they have that shovel-ready project?
Oh, great question. So applications are due to us March, first week in March. I think then we have some the second or third week. It's just spread out through March. And so once we receive those applications in March, we're going to review them for responsiveness. We'll have the selection committee meeting in April. And then in April, after the selection committee meeting, we're already scheduled to meet with the county finance committee, because it's the county finance committee that actually makes the recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners on how much to issue in bonds. And then our goal from there is, don't quote me on the date, March 18th or somewhere up in there, we're looking to go to the Board of County Commissioners on the bond dollars and ask them to issue that amount in dollars, May. And then in June, we're looking to bring the projects back for the board for approval in June. The third-party underwriter, we're in the process of contracting with them. Florida Housing Finance Corporation has 3 third-party underwriters. 2 of them responded to our RFP. We're looking to get them both. What I don't know right now is if they need 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to review. That's what we're gonna find out. But upon their review, we'll take it back to the Board of County Commissioners, and then that final date is the date where the clock starts for the developers. So we've provided some latitude for developers in that when they submit their proposals in March, it may not be shovel ready, because by the time we get back to the Board of County Commissioners, it could be July, August, September, depending on how long the third-party underwriter review take. We tell them it has to be shovel ready by then, meaning that they have to have the appropriate zoning by then. Gives them a few extra months to get it going. And if it is, then we'll be taking it along with the third-party underwriter review. If it's not, we'll talk to the municipalities, see how much longer it's gonna take, and if it's a month or 2 months out, then we have to wait. It's a month or 2 months out. We just have to wait. And then that's when the clock will start.
I have another question. Like if you came with, do you have any unit size or anything that you find problematic? Are you just looking for creative solutions, like micro units might be something that would be appropriate?
Yeah, creative solutions, as long as the size of the units meet the building code for the municipality and the county. Yeah, that's absolutely fine with us.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is the county taking any extra steps to ensure that these units that are going to be workforce housing or affordable are actually being rented out for what we expect them to be rented out for? I know there's been issues in the past. Has the county taken any steps to address that?
So on the workforce housing program, I would say yes to that, and I'm just speaking from the outside looking in, because the workforce housing rental is overseen by another department. My department deals with the for sale workforce housing, but I would say yes on that. But notwithstanding, on this particular program and any of the programs that are administered through my office, right, we do the compliance monitoring ourselves, and it's a little bit easier because we do housing. Whereas our planning, zoning, and building department, which oversees workforce housing rental, they're planning, zoning, and building. They're not really housing. So I would say yes, that they've made some strides on the workforce housing side, rental, but I would say absolutely for this particular program, we're building that in. In addition to us, that will be our department that will be looking at it, the IG and the internal auditors will also have an opportunity to review. And the third-party underwriters, one of the things that we threw in there is also additional compliance monitoring. So we're looking at different levels of being able to ensure that the units that are set aside as affordable or workforce are actually being used for that. And we're gonna get around, we're not gonna allow developers who say, I have the units built, but it's vacant because I don't have anyone yet in those units. Okay, well, the clock isn't going to start on those units yet until those units get occupied. We're looking at creative ways to make sure that the units that we assist are going to go to the right people at the right rates.
I just wanted to thank Jonathan for all his support over all these years. The projects that we have in Lake Worth, everything from the CLT homes to La Jolla, to Julianne Place, to some of the other ones, have been subsidized by the county, and we would not have anywhere near as many affordable units if it wasn't for the county and all their support. So thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
Ready to move to our consent agenda? Can I have a motion for the consent agenda, please? Side Street Infrastructure Project, and also the interlocal agreement for Solid Waste Authority. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, I'll make the motion. The first motion for the board to approve the interlocal between the city and the CRA, allowing the CRA to pay for infrastructure improvements between A Street and H Street, between Lake and Lucerne Avenues.
You just make one motion to approve the consent agenda,
Okay. Well, that,
unless you want to pull an item.
all right, well, that's easy then. So I'll make a motion to approve both interlocal agreements.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Next, we'll have review of our minutes from December 12th. Please review and to see if there are any questions. You'd like to make any corrections?
I'll motion to approve the December 12th, 2023 minutes.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All is approved. Next, we have the action agenda regarding circuit approval, the contract, and the interlocal with the city.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have talked numerous times about the possibility of bringing Circuit to Lake Worth here, and I had the ability to talk to the City Commission just, I don't remember if it was a week or 2 weeks ago, about the possibility as well, and they were very supportive and will actually fund part of it. So I'll just go over some of the high points to it. We also have Jason here from Circuit if we have any questions. So what's in front of you tonight is a 12-month contract that can be renewed. The hours of operation would be Sunday through Thursday from noon to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. for a total of 67 hours a week. And as we are, adding this incentive to the city, if we notice that certain hours don't work or we're not getting a lot of traffic at certain hours, we can certainly change this, and we can also change the area that we're going to cover. It was suggested by the City Commission that we do go ahead and charge $1 per adult. They asked about changing it from daytime to nighttime and having different charges. That's not recommended by Circuit. But the $1 per adult and any kind of advertising that is on the cars themselves will go towards the city's contribution to lower their contribution. There will be plenty of data reporting, and we are also going to use this in the upcoming months to apply for 2 different FDOT grants that hopefully will subsidize this in future years if it is successful. Our boundaries are approximately 7th Avenue North, 6th Avenue South, Tri-Rail, and then to the beach. The total between the city and the CRA is $230,000, of which the city will be contributing $100,000. And then just to jump to the interlocal, that's also part of this. The CRA will manage the contract for the city. And again, the city will contribute up to $100,000 when necessary. So I'm asking the board to please approve the Circuit contract and also the interlocal with the city. Jason.
Joan, I just have one.
Sure.
If you could just make the clarification of exactly what Circuit is. Maybe there's some people here who don't understand what we're talking about. So just give us a brief.
I'm so sorry. That might be good, yeah. So Circuit is a service that is provided in many, many cities across the country. And it is an electric vehicle or a series of electric vehicles. In our case, it would be 2 that provide free or very low fares to provide transportation between destinations within the city. So although we do have, Brightline that goes to West Palm Beach, and we have Tri-Rail Station here, we have nothing that moves people around in the city here. And as, we continually infill and we build up, congestion is definitely an issue here. So this is something that we think will be utilized by the people who live here and hopefully be enjoyed by them, and something that we can eventually do throughout the city.
Can I add to that a little bit? Just to add, it works like Uber. You have an app and you make a demand and they see you and then they come pick you up and take you where you want to go. So it's an on-demand. $1 is a very reasonable rate, and I think it's going to be a game changer for Lake Worth Beach.
And do we have a motion before we have discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the interlocal between the city and the CRA, allowing the CRA to pay for infrastructure improvements. No, that's not it. Sorry.
Madam Chair, it would be a motion to approve the contract with Circuit and also the interlocal with the city.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve the contract between city and Circuit and the
CRA and Circuit and the interlocal between the CRA and the city.
There you go.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Let's have a discussion. Anyone have any questions or concerns?
When we just started picking this up, I wasn't on the CRA board, so I was wondering how we got into it. I mean, what got us into this initiative?
I've been probably hearing since I came here that everybody wants the trolley to come back.
Gotcha.
But there was definitely not an agreement on, how often it was used or when it should be used or even the kind of vehicle. So the city obviously is very environmentally friendly, would like some kind of electric vehicle. Our original thought here at the CRA was there are several FDOT projects going on. There's 6th Avenue still is not fixed. There's the Circle project, and then Lake and Lucerne is going to start in March. We do have a garage that the city is paying for over by the Bohemian, and it would be great to have people just go and park over there and then ride to the downtown and to the beach and to the tri-rail and things like that. Also, I think it would greatly help our community. There's a lot of people who don't own a car and rely on public transportation, and this would be a great service to bring people around the city.
I appreciate that. So it's not redevelopment, clearly, but it's a service.
Well, I think it is redevelopment because
Okay.
especially when you have projects that might not want to or don't have to provide as much parking as they think they need to. This is a great tool for developers to use to say, hey, we have this, we want to do this project, but we don't necessarily have enough parking, but there is free service here in Lake Worth. I think it's a great tool.
You can view it as underlying infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. All right, appreciate it.
I have a question about how it's going to be advertised and marketed and distributed, and if there's anything that CRA board members can do other than just talk it up, but is there a plan for that?
I'm going to ask Jason what his plans are. Our plans are to wrap the vehicles and also get as many of the businesses downtown or anybody else who would like to advertise on it to advertise. We will always, of course, put it on our website. We'll do email blasts. We'll put it on our social media. Same with the city.
Good evening. Jason Bagley, partner with Circuit. Thank you all for having me here tonight. Appreciate the conversation. And just to answer, when we roll out a new city, we're in 40 cities across the U.S. right now. Just finalized a contract with Boynton Beach. We're in West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and several others up and down the coast. But we have a public partnership manager that already has started crafting a survey here. So we'll get that out and start talking to the community, get their feedback, where would they like to go to. We have a base service map right now, but very often when the service rolls out, we'll learn a lot more about what the community wants, and the system is very flexible. So we can change that coverage area in a matter of minutes of what you're seeing on the app, and you're able to connect to whatever's live. We can also do that for events. If there's a special event for a weekend and we want to adjust the map, we can do that very easily. But the outreach, that will start with the survey, and we already have about 70,000 users in South Florida, so there will be an email blast out to all of them letting them know that the service is coming to Lake Worth Beach. We'll work very closely with you all in the city to get the message out, but really when the vehicles hit the street is when everybody kind of understands what's going on, and there's just a natural interest of what's this all about. So it gives our staff an opportunity to give them a card. We print out business cards with a QR code of how to download the app, what the hours of service are, and what the coverage area is. So there's a lot of on-the-ground marketing. There'll be a lot of momentum and Facebook and social posts, and we'll do quite a bit on our end as well, and look forward to continue to work with you all to get the message out. But ridership is never an issue. If anything, it's that we have too much demand once we're live. And that's really where those fares came into place. It was in Hollywood that we replaced an old fixed-route trolley there, that the ridership over the years had just gone down and down because people had gotten used to using Uber and Lyft and just getting picked up at their door. So the chamber and the CRA back in 2018 put out an RFP for this style service that we were fortunate to win. We're still there today, but what we saw is that just, it was an overwhelming response. Everybody wanting to use it, that the city at one of our renewals said, how do we manage the demand? And the answer was, let's put a $1 fare in place. And the next month we actually gave more rides because we got more efficient. We weren't missing rides. We didn't have people canceling or no-showing, so it kind of balanced out that supply and demand. Hope that answered the question. I went off a bit.
Follow-up question, how much of that marketing is being targeted to non-English speaking populations in our city?
We're looking for you all for that, but we do everything in Spanish as well. We can do, other languages if needed, but we're happy to target the entire community. We're not, we'd kind of look to your direction a little bit there, but we have the tools to get everything out there in any language needed.
So could you describe what marketing you use, like for, to catch people's eye in the city?
Yeah, the branded vehicles are number one. We'll have collateral in the vehicles. We'll go around to all the businesses and give them a lot of times a one-pager that they can either put in their window or on the register counter, or postcards or just business cards to let people know. It travels pretty well word of mouth, so we'll go to residential buildings as well. But a lot of the, next door, the Facebook and Instagram, and then all of our email marketing.
So maybe like posters and stuff like that, some of the businesses.
Yeah, we'll
in the
give
area can
businesses
put in
either
there
a stand-up one sheet that gives you all the service details. It'll have a map, service hours, QR code to scan and download the app.
And they'll be in like Spanish and Haitian Creole probably.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. And did we ever find out what we could do, or if there's any options for people who don't have credit cards, debit cards, to access the service as well?
We can. We've had to do that in some of our markets, so we can do unbanked, or we can do, a lot of times, quite honestly, we can do credits. So either we're doing 5 free rides a month for residents. If somebody just walks up to a car and we're available, we'll take them that time and give them a card for next time to download the app. But we're sensitive to that, so if it's something that I think we'll need to work out some details on how we want to address.
What would the target start date be?
That is a little bit of an unknown. Once we get a signed contract, we would typically say 60 days, but I know we're trying to fast track this and get some of these events covered, but it's really going to be on when we get a signed contract and vehicle availability. Sorry, somebody else had a question?
Yeah, I actually just had the same kind of question as Daniel, but another question then would be, I read the RFP for the City of Hollywood.
Yep.
And I know that this is going to be ADA compliant, but just wondering, as we know, we'll have a sizable percentage of riders who are 65 plus, and I'm wondering about disability or differently abled and devices, hardware, and all those kind of things that people will have. How does that typically work? Yeah,
what we do in most of our markets is we'll have a standby ADA GEM vehicle. So that means the same vehicles that we're proposing here would have a standby vehicle that has a wheelchair position and a ramp and tie downs. So that's how we address that. And quite honestly, we're doing, I think in Pompano Beach, more than 50% of our riders are seniors. So we always get the question, are they going to be averse to downloading an app and requesting? But we've never had any issues with that.
And how about waiting time?
Wait time, our target as a company is under 10 minutes. I think it's a fairly small coverage area here, but there are only 2 vehicles. So we're right in that sweet spot, I think. And that's something that we can easily scale up. And as Joan mentioned, we're helping out and presenting grant opportunities to add on to this and expand coverage, so you can down the future add some additional vehicles to maintain those wait times as ridership builds.
Thanks.
Quick question, Joan. We extend past the Tri-Rail, right, up until the on Lucerne or Lake Avenue, past the Tri-Rail up until the Lake Worth border, right?
No,
With the
just up
county?
to Tri-Rail.
Just the CRA. Well, I guess it would fall under the city's area, right, within the city, because there's like this really there's a large shopping center, you know, where the Bodegon is. There's like laundromats over there that a lot of people frequent. And I think it would be a shame if we missed out on that hot spot. I don't know if there's any way we could
look at it.
we could look at that, because you know when I worked around that area a lot. I know there's like a mobile home right next to the Tri-Rail, but you know, well, tons of people shop at that Bodegon. Kids from the high school go over there. You know what I mean? So that's
Sure.
a really hot spot, and I think it would be good for the people in that area who want to access that supermarket to be able to make it all the way there. don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
mean,
you
we're
can-
totally open to it. It's really going to be that balance of what's that going to do to wait times. And I think that FDOT grant that will open up in May is that opportunity that has to be tied to some kind of service modification. So where you start today, it might be worth running it as planned, and then have that as a future state with some additional funding and additional resources, like another vehicle or two. So it's good to have that,
I'm thinking, where's the closest supermarket aside from Publix within that
Yeah.
boundaries that we've set? Probably no supermarket. You know what I mean? Aside from Publix.
Yeah.
I think that's a large oversight. Honestly.
Yeah, and those, retail centers, and we've spoken with Palm Beach State, and so we always try and bring in other funding partners as well that can benefit from this service. So that would be a goal of ours, is to engage with them and see if the city and the CRA don't have any additional budget, to try and get some private side to contribute to this, to add more service.
Because it would be like much more expensive to tack that on. I mean, I guess it's the city paying for that portion of the, right? That's
Right.
That's a city.
Sure.
I'm gonna have to talk to my commissioner for that then, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My concern, I'm glad that it's a one-year contract, because I don't want us to commit to something that the city can't support. I don't know that we have the ridership. I don't know that we have enough people that's gonna buy into this. And once it starts, I don't want it to be something that at 6 months from now, we say, well, this didn't work out, and we're stuck in a 2 or 3 year contract. I understand that we are able to increase the contract after the year is up, but during that year, we will have many conversations to say, this is working, this is not working, how we can improve that, and we'll sit down at some time to say, these are the changes that we propose for an additional contract for next year.
Absolutely, and we'll provide data every month, so you'll
Okay.
get a look of what was the data, what was the ridership, where is the activity, so there'll be a heat map showing you where the pickup and drop-offs are, and it's an ongoing conversation, to your point, that we may trim one area that's getting very little usage, knowing that there's another area that can probably pick up quite a bit, so it's never set in stone, it's very fluid, so we're always trying to make this as efficient as possible.
Okay.
I know we have a really vocal community on Facebook and
Yep.
Nextdoor and all that, but do you have a section on the app, or however it's going to go, for ridership and comments from riders about
They
their
can,
experience?
yeah, so after you take a ride, you can leave feedback, you can rate the driver, and then also leave a comment that will go to management to review.
Good, that'll be really helpful.
Yeah, of course. And that's actually in that data report as well. It will give the monthly stats on the reviews and any kind of feedback.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think that concludes board discussion. Could we have public comment? Do we have any public comments on this issue?
I just ask that Joe.
Come to the mic, please.
Sorry about that.
Since it's hard to hear. Peggy Fisher, North A Street. Could Joan just repeat the hours of operations, please? Because it was hard to hear her. Thank you.
Sure. So Sunday through Thursday, it would be noon to 9 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, it would be noon to 11 p.m. at night. Did you get it? Okay.
Do we have any additional public comment? As we,
Hi, Laura Devlin, 727 North J Street. I definitely support this, and I was just sitting here for a minute or two and downloaded the app. It was very easy to download. I'm pretty proficient at the phone, but it was very easy to download, and what it pulled up was the West Palm Beach, which I assume is the most local service area to where we are right now, and it said service is very busy. So it's being used a lot apparently in West Palm Beach as well, and I think that, you know, for $1 or even $2, if it was raised to $2 at some point, you know, to be able to get from one end of the city relatively quickly, I think it's a very good service. I really would support that. Thank you.
Greg Richter, 1202 South Palmway. I too just want to support this. I think it's a great idea. But one concern I did have, I don't think it goes far enough south. I would have liked to have seen it go to South 12th. The reason being, we have a lot more affordable housing down there, people without cars down there. We don't have bus service on South Federal Highway. So this would have been nice, you know, to have that, like we're doing Brickell Place that's going to open up here. You know, intentionally we let it go on the parking requirements because we knew a lot of those people would not have cars or transportation. So I really like it and look forward to seeing it expand a little bit further south. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes public comment. We have a first and a second, and I'd like a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed. I'm sorry, anyone against? So all those in favor? We're done. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to have the attorney report on the new state of Florida disclosure rules.
Good evening, David Tolsis, General Counsel for the CRA. I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Good to see everyone. So I know Commissioner Fairfax touched on it earlier. There is a new financial disclosure requirement that applies to elected officials. It does not apply to you as appointed CRA board members. So you, as CRA board members, are still required to file your financial disclosure on the Form 1. I believe that everything is going to be able to be done online through the Florida Commission on Ethics this year, and your obligation is to file that form no later than June 30th at midnight. If you have any questions about filling out the form, I think all of you have probably done it at least once. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have at the time that you fill it out. It's much less intrusive than the new Form 6 that the elected officials are having to complete. So that is regarding disclosure rules. The other item is that under the Corporate Transparency Act, the Federal Government Act, we are going to have to fill out a disclosure form for the foundation and any other corporate entities possibly that the CRA may establish. I need to check on the foundation because it is a not-for-profit, so we may not have to file it for that. But I'm here, as Ms. Geiger was here earlier this evening. If you ever have any questions about any legal issues associated with the CRA, your role, I'm here for you. And it's great seeing everyone. Thank you very much.
And now we have the Executive Director's report. Joan?
Thank you. We're going to start with affordable housing update. I'm sure many of you know, but just in case you do not, on Northeast Street, we have 3 CLT homes, which are now under construction. Those soon will be starting a wait list for those. The price for those would be $205,000. We also have 3 homes being built on the 300 block of North C Street, and those are Habitat homes. 2 of them have been bought by veterans. There's still 1 more to be built there. We also have some other properties that we will be transferring to our nonprofit partners next month at the board meeting. I also wanted to let you know that both CLT, the Community Land Trust, and Habitat have both put in applications for home CHODO money, and CHODO is Community Housing Development Organization. So the CLT is proposing to build 8 villas in the CRA district. These will be for people earning 80% or below of AMI. So to give you an idea, for 1 person, it would be a maximum of $54,000, and for 2 people, it would be a maximum of $62,000. Both applications are in with the county, and like I said, they're both asking for a little over $1 million, so we're hoping that comes through for them. Home ownership, We had a homeownership meeting last Friday with employees, a lunch and learn for the city employees. It was really fantastic. We had probably about 30 or 35 city employees who were very, very interested in the affordable homes, especially the newer ones that are coming out. The villas will probably be somewhere between $150 and $200, which is an amazing price. Lake Worth Beach Home Buyers Club, we're starting that back up on February 7th, and it runs till April 10th, and the meetings will take place here at Hatch on Wednesdays from 5:30 to 7:30. And last but not least, Habitat has opened up their program for neighborhood enhancement. Right now they're doing painting and landscaping. It's free to homeowners in the Tropical Ridge and Royal Point Sienna neighborhood. So if you know anybody who's interested, please let me know, and I will make sure that they know and reach out to them as well. A few other things. Urban Arts Lofts will be doing a show here starting this Friday, and it will run to the 10th. A lot of our great artists here that live in the Urban Arts Lofts that have been here for a very long time. They're fantastic artists, and I encourage you all to come. We also have another exhibit called Art Wars, and that starts on February 17th. And there will be food, music, and 17 artists. And if you look at the artist names, you'll probably recognize at least a few of them. Coming up in March, we have the Habitat for Humanity Women's Build. And Commissioner Kerner has already volunteered to help us build on March 15th. So if any of females want to join us on the 15th, I will sign you up. Great, thank you. I also, our chairwoman asked me just to give a quick Gulfstream update. We have not paid the Gulfstream anything to date, of course, because we do not pay them until they get their CO on the building. They are doing, and that's CO on the new building. So they are doing some demolition and some rehab on the old building, but they have not started on the new building yet. And once they are complete with the new building and get the CO, then they would come to us and we would reimburse them their city and county portion of the TIF until 2031. So obviously the later that they start, the less that they get. At this point, we're not really, we're not predicting that they're gonna get as much as I think we originally predicted, because we thought they would start already. So again, to date, we have not paid them anything. And that's all I have. Thank you.
We're going to begin board member comments. Let's start at that end.
Can I ask Joan a question?
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
So Joan, any updates? We approved at the last meeting the extension for, I can't remember the development, but it's between Lucerne and
Village Flats.
Village Flats, yeah. How's it going? Have you heard?
They have handed in one of the 3 pieces to the city for permitting, and one of the smaller pieces, which is 1310. I'm actually going to bring it back to you guys next month. I'm sorry to do this to you again, but when we went to review the plans, as we do just as part of the city lineup, we noticed that the designs are a little different than what you approved. And yes, they value engineered, and the city is fine with that, but I want to make sure that all of you are fine with that before they move forward anymore. So on February 13th, they will be here.
Thanks.
I have a question. This is for Joan. Joan, could you give an update on the RFP for the downtown redevelopment, former L&M?
Sure. I think we finished it up last, I want to remember it's either September or October. I sent it over to the city. William made some comments on it. I don't believe I got any comments from the city manager. We had talked with the new city manager about having a joint meeting between us, more than likely after the election. But in the meantime, at our next meeting, again, February 13th, I've asked a group who's very interested in bringing a museum here to please come and give you guys an overall idea of what they're thinking about for that particular site, just so the board can say whether or not they really want them to move forward. And if they don't want them to move forward, or if you don't want them to move forward, then of course we would revert back to the RFP. I don't know, I have to check to see whether the city manager ever brought it to the full commission. I'm not really sure about that. I don't believe I've gotten any feedback from them, so I'm thinking no. But it has been available, and it's been over there since either September or October.
Do we get to see that RFP, though? I haven't seen it.
I brought it to you last year. Yeah, but you could see it again.
Oh, this is the one with Victor Dover did?
Yep.
Oh, how did I
Yeah.
miss that? I must have missed that meeting.
Yeah, we had Victor online, we had Dana here, we had William here. So, yeah, I mean, it was probably August or September.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll catch it online.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
And so like conceivably, once there's the presentation, sorry, Carl, once the presentation happens in February, then we'll have a better idea of what the museum is thinking about in terms of location, and that would impact the RFP, and then
Correct,
we'd go
yes.
forward from there.
I think it is it's the L&M site.
Yeah.
You're looking for. So, do you want to give the public here and a little bit of invitation? Because they should be
Sure. On February 13th, we'll be having a presentation by the Weiner Museum of Arts. Currently, they are located temporarily in Hollywood. I have encouraged a number of our board members, and I know a number of them have gone down and visited. We're also going to open it up to commission. It's not actually an open museum, but they are doing tours on certain days. It's an absolutely incredible collection that Mr. Weiner and his family have, and they've been looking for a home for this museum for a few years, and they're really kind of coming down to crunch time where they really have to find a home for it. The museum itself does a great deal of outreach with children, with artists. It would be a great complement to our city as far as being a destination here in Lake Worth, along with our other artistic and cultural destinations here. In order to support the museum, they were thinking of also doing a housing project, so it would be kind of like a campus-like facility where there would be this magnificent museum and also some housing surrounding it. They've looked at numerous sites throughout the downtown. I don't know whether they're married to downtown, because I have shown them other sites, but we'll find out a little bit more at our next meeting on the 13th, so I encourage you all to attend. Our meeting will be back over at City Hall.
I have no comments.
Daniel?
In the beginning of our meeting today, an individual made a comment about my participation at the Whispering Palms Neighborhood Association meeting. You know, from just attending there with a friend of mine, you know, one of the reasons why I decided to run in the past for commission seat and accepted it, being appointed to the CRA was that, you know, my real mission was to you know, inform people who I knew from living here in the city and try to make the best decision for them, especially individuals who I feel don't engage and don't participate in a lot of the political things that go on in our city. And from the presentation of this group at the meeting, I thought that they presented a lot of positives, but without details, without specifics. You know, a lot of things sound good on paper, but when you really go into detail, it kind of takes some of it away. And so I believe when somebody's out there promoting something with the interest of educating, it's important to include a lot of details because otherwise it comes off as propaganda or persuasion. And so I wanted to address that. You know, I hope, and I'll talk to my local representative about expanding circuit. I think we're so close, you know, I think it's a great service that the city is going to be able to provide to its residents. It's going to promote, you know, our ideals of being, you know, mindful of our environment and also stepping away from just being so, you know, reliant upon cars. I think it's a great step, especially for a lot of individuals who nowadays get a lot of their business done, a lot of their errands done without cars. This is going to be great for them. You know, sometimes I think about, you know, it's a shame that it's probably not earlier from 12 to 9 because I envision, you know, some parents even taking their children to school in these things. But I know it's a pilot program where you know, you couldn't take up the whole city in the very beginning. I really hope that the city, the CRA, and these individuals at Circuit are committed to ensuring that all the residents of Lake Worth Beach, especially those who need it the most, are knowledgeable of this service, are using this service, have access to the service, and it fulfills its mission of assisting people with their mobility needs. With the county presentation, I voted against the bond bill myself because I don't believe that these $200 million are really going to affect or really change affordable housing. I feel there's a lot of things that the county could be focused on. I'm very concerned about the county and cities and CRA's ability to oversee the money that's being given in order to obtain these affordable units, these workforce house units. But it's almost as if you give somebody money and they go away and you expect the best from them. I know the individual that came here today said that he's seen improvements in the other department. He wasn't able to give any specifics, but we haven't found ourselves in a housing crisis because of a lack of initiatives or lack of programs. I think a lot of it has to go over oversight and attention to detail. So hopefully we can do something with these with these bond dollars. Hopefully we can get a great project or a couple great projects in our city that fit our character. And I look forward to exploring that and addressing the needs of our residents in the CRA district.
Thanks. Just wanted to thank staff and Joan for all the hard work you did and to get this circuit before us. I'm completely looking forward to taking advantage of it. But bringing something like this to the city, I see it go around when I happen to be in West Palm Beach, which is very rarely because I stay here all the time. But I noticed that car, and it's like that's cool because I know it's coming to us. So thanks for all the work y'all did to bring it to us and working with the city to make it happen. And I very much look forward to the next meeting where we can hear from the museum and because I'm very much looking forward to making some progress on that site. So, and also thanks to all the board members for all your service here. It's a great board.
Thanks. I will wholeheartedly second what you've said. And also I wanted to thank Jonathan Brown for his really thorough and excellent presentation. Really excited too about the circuit, and I think we did a lot of good work today, and I'm happy about that. So we'll just keep on keeping on, and looking forward to hopefully being able to see the Weiner Museum of Art. I don't know, are the hours going to be on the weekends too that we could go, or is it just the weekdays? Any idea?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to check.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks to our chair.
Sure. I'm also very excited for the circuit to come. I think perfect can be the enemy of the good, so I'm excited to start out and see what the metrics look like, see what the ridership numbers are, where the ridership numbers are, and frankly, if there's a way to determine the ways in which people are using this, if people are using it to run errands or if they're mainly using it for entertainment, I think that would be a very interesting piece of data. I haven't been down to Hollywood yet. That's a ways to go, but I've been corresponding with them, and they're fantastic. So I'm excited for that opportunity. I look forward to the next meeting. So, thank you.
I think everyone knows I'm a real Circa booster. I don't need to go into that, but I would like to say and encourage the public to come to the Weiner presentation and give them a lot of love, because I've met them, I've been to the museum. I just can't imagine a better outcome for that L&M site, which has had such a saga in the city, to be able to bring a combination of cultural institution, permanent cultural institution, and housing to downtown, and just for me, it just seems like a no-brainer, and everybody should encourage their friends and family to come and just give them a big group hug.
I too am very much impressed with what we've done, what this board has done and what the staff has done to bring Circuit to our city. That was a major undertaking. It wasn't something that we thought of lightly, and we're certainly willing to be flexible and make any changes as the need occurs. And as far as WMODA, which is Weiner Museum of Decorative Arts. I took a tour of it the other week, and this museum is phenomenal. And it is not just stuck, you don't see any big dinosaurs, you know, it's not that type of museum. You know, it's small things, and they have one section that's devoted to African artworks, and they have some that's glass, and they just have different things. But don't listen to me. Go online to www.wmoda.com, and you can have a virtual tour. And so when people come before us on the 13th, I would appreciate if you've at least taken the tour to see exactly what the museum has to offer. The L&M project has been fraught with many, many problems. And the more knowledge that we have, the better decision that we can make. And we're listening to the people who live in that area, the people who frequent downtown, and the museum lovers. This would be a good fit for the city, and we would become one of the premier cities in the state that is dedicated to art. You know, we already have the Benziton Center. They're doing a phenomenal job. We have the Arts Council. We have so many things that speaks to the direction and the brand that Lake Worth wants to be. And this cannot do anything but enhance that. So please go on that website. And Joan, would you put it on our website so they'll know the email address? The address, so that you can go on and look at it, because it is a phenomenal project and it can't do anything but bring kudos to the city. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I forgot one thing, and I apologize. So you have flyers, and I have flyers in Spanish and Creole as well. We're partnering with the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Organization and Safe Kids from Palm Beach County. We're doing a bicycle safety event in March. We will have free bicycle helmets and helmet fittings. We'll also have some free armbands and free taillights, and we're doing this with FDOT, our partners. So if anybody would like any flyers in any kind of language, please let us know. It's going to take place March 13th at 2:45. Thank you.
Okay. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.